big story regarding Meghan Markle, and there's none bigger, of course, than her background. Seemingly because, like a lot of micro-celebrities, they rewrite their history. And I know this, as many of you know, from many, many years being inside that enclave, Even when you're sitting down with a celebrity at the very beginning, they're telling you their version of events, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. You have to work that out yourself, right? And this is simply because they've actually now believed that this is their version of events. They believe that this is their story, even though you think, well, no, you didn't do that, or you were only this part in this particular film or story. You know what I'm saying? Consequently, what you have are people like Meghan Markle who've rewritten their own histories time and time again. And she seemingly forgets the only reoccurring theme, in my opinion, that Meghan sticks to is the fabled soap dish story, right? But even then, she makes a cock of that, right? She doesn't really keep up to the plot. If she'd have been honest from the off and said, I couldn't believe it when they asked to interview me, even though it was a class project. But no, either her father had drilled it into her that this was her own idea and this was marvellous and all of that, or she truly believed what was going on. You get the picture. Now, moving forward, what everybody wants to look at is this particular story. It's circled around, but not necessarily in the mainstream media. Meghan Markle's alleged yacht girl days. Now, a big piece in the esteemed British publication, The Spectator, written by a brilliant writer, Julie Burchill, well, it kind of goes into sort of a very, shall we say, light-hearted look. But what is the true story about Meghan Markle's past, her history, and the associations to these stories? And more importantly, a little bit like the divorce book deal, chums, why doesn't she shut these stories down? There's a bigger story, should I say, behind it. As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you, and as ever, thank you so much for joining me today. Aren't these flowers really nice? I don't know what they are, but I just like, as you know, I like to find places to stand for you where there's a better looking than this, but you know what I mean? It's just nice to sort of stand here. And it's weird, isn't it? Because this area is strange when I think about a couple of months ago, you're standing here, really cold, all of that. Isn't nature wonderful? You know what I mean? When you think about it, isn't nature brilliant? Because it's always evolving, it's always moving on, and ultimately it's the thing that we as humans or whatever don't have any control over, for the good and the bad, which is a shame, isn't it, chums? It's a bit like this, you see, tenuous link coming. I hope you're keeping well, by the way. You are? That's good to know, honestly. Tenuous link here, chums, because when I told you recently about Meghan Markle re-teaming up with this friend, the one where many suggest, hijacked that particular award show. Meghan was clinging to her like a magnet for the very first time. And I don't know about you, I'm not that sort of clingy person. That would drive me insane, that, because and again, working with celebrities, they're grabbing your hand, they're leaning on you as if they're chums, and you know what I mean? Because they want you to be, they want to get in the picture longer. There was that wonderful moment in there where when the lady says to her, we just need one picture. Meghan, one picture, you only want one picture? She couldn't quite believe the fact that somebody only wanted one picture of Markle. Now, Kelly apparently is a 20-plus-year-old friend, right? Been around forever. And so this is an interesting person for me, because when you dig a little bit deeper, seemingly she's only been resurrected over the last couple of years. And this has been through chats and emails and all of that sort of stuff. It's not as close as one may suggest. Again, I have to say allegedly. So why are these two women now suddenly bonded together? Well, they're bonded together because it suits both. I mean, what she's doing, what Meghan needs, and they may have been the best of chums before, but, people go their separate ways, they get more power, they get fame, all of that sort of stuff, and they basically moved on. So it's very convenient now. And, like we saw with the bookstore thing and all that, Meghan will attach herself when it seems appropriate. These people also are very good because they're not exactly prime people. And I don't mean that unkindly. But when you say, look at Jessica Mulrooney, she was very attached. She had a great, opening for Meghan to be able to get into with certain people. Now, the yacht girl story, as I said, very deeply gone into by Julie, but tells you a lot, but tells you nothing. Even though we know about the guy who wanted basically Meghan Markle to be called to give what she may know for the Virginia Giuffre case, it's all a bit sketchy. Why does the mainstream media stay away from it, including the esteemed author Tom Bower? This is simply because there's a bigger story attached to that. And legally, I have to say that's where I have to leave it, on that level, right? But here's where it gets a little bit more interesting, because what Meghan Markle hopes, and this is the thing what celebrities do, you see, you have a group of people, and in our generation, if you remember, do you remember a thing called Friends Reunited, which was a big thing where people got connected at the very start of the internet, and it was all about connecting and, you know, school reunions and stuff like that, and it was a big thing, right? Well, a lot of people gave a lot of information away on there, then that went debunked. Now, this is a bit like how Meghan operates with her circle of friends. You see, what's interesting is, talking to staff members, one of the things that Prince Harry says about Meghan Markle, and remember, this is a guy who didn't bother to check in with her father to learn anything about the wife that he was marrying, who was, according to her, the second time around, right? So he didn't bother. This was all the fears that William had. You know, you've not spoken to the father. Even the Queen said, you know, you've never sat down with Thomas and had a, you know, no. He believed what Meghan presented in front of him. Now, what Meghan's done, and this is the interesting bit, you will notice that on this particular situation, Meghan and her friend went to the award show. As I told you, they would have liked Prince Harry to attend. He is the catch. He's the one that people want, right? But no, he didn't attend for whatever reason. But the other side of the coin is that these friends, and this is ex-staff members, have never really been seen at the Montecito mansion. But one of the things that Harry said to the staff, talking who when he got friendly, and apparently according to them, he's kind of an amiable chap, very bored, a little bit lost, quite happy to have conversations about anything, because, you know, he believes, maybe wrongly, that the people who are working for him, because you're paying them, then you can have these conversations. And he said one of the things that Meghan said to him was about the beautiful sort of discovery of life, right? Now, what does that really mean? Well, what it really means is that Meghan Markle decided not to tell Prince Harry her entire back catalogue, because she wanted to be able to discover new things, for him to discover new things about her on a regular basis. You get the picture, right? So consequently, she knew everything about Harry, regardless of what she said, and he felt he didn't really have that much to talk about, because everything with Harry is in the public domain. You know, we know about the Las Vegas stuff, we know about the armband with the party, and you know what I'm talking about. So she could have easily found everything she wanted to know, and many suggest that she may, and again I have to say allegedly, shaped her narrative to suit what was his, likewise by dressing like his mother, wearing the perfume, etc. But Harry openly said that he's constantly surprised about learning new things about his wife, including friends that she'd never spoken about before, right? I mean, right? And so consequently, she can't afford for anybody to be sat with Harry just in case, because he's an amiable guy. And, you know, if he was to say, well, how did you two meet? If this doesn't correspond or correlate with Meghan Markle's, you know, version of events, maybe then something might go on upstairs. You get the picture. And so consequently, Meghan gives him sort of little bits and pieces and bites and stuff. Now, the mother's not a problem, right? Because the mother, we know she's not really around that much. She doesn't really necessarily have that much to say. She's not interested in celebrity. She's not interested in royals, any level of that type of stuff, right? You get the picture. So behind the scenes, Harry really is only discovering the narrative that Meghan Markle is deciding to share with him through whatever she decides to present to him on a regular basis. Now, apparently all of these people, all of these friends, these secret friends that we've not seen before from the past, are all desperate to meet Harry, but they only meet him in very small sound bites, included, of course, you know these people, each and every time, if you'll notice, there's a group. So when they say go to the Beyonce concert, they're never alone. You know, Harry's never sat with these people having a beer or going out for a coffee or a cycle ride or a hike in the heart of California, because it's curated to present what Meghan wants. Apparently, though, according to Harry, and as I say, this is the bit that I just find incredible, chumps. According to Harry, you know, he quite likes this because He's constantly surprised and constantly finding out new things and adventures that his wife did, whether it be travelling to another country, learning a new language, etc. And sometimes he says some of the things he's never heard of before. He didn't know she'd done it. Now, wouldn't that, of course, send a light bulb into your head to think, well, maybe I should have spoken to the father. Maybe I should have learned a little bit more about the background. And so all of these rumours circulating regarding the alleged stories about the yachts and the people that were on the yachts and the connections, until somebody from that group allegedly comes out and says, we did this or we did that, well, it's not really a story, it's speculation. And that's exactly why Meghan Markle doesn't shut it down. A little bit like the divorce book deal. You know, you couldn't name the person that was shopping that around. So consequently for Meghan, this is just backs up her theory of they're making this stuff up. I'm telling you the truth. Harry believes it. Why don't you? Neil Sean, Kensington, London.